Vignan's deemed university, building Young India.
Let's discuss a topic called solar simulator. What is a solar simulator? It's a device which is used to measure the IV characteristics of a solar cell. A solar simulator plots the current and voltage relationship, that is the IV curve of a solar cell. The information obtained from the IV curve is useful in evaluating the solar cell performance. The solar simulators are manufactured to provide standard test conditions for solar cell. What are the standard test conditions for solar cell? 1000 watt per meter square irradiance, that is 1 sun irradiance, 25 degrees centigrade and air mass 1.5. So the simulator works at a irradiation levels of 1000 watt per meter square and at an air mass of 1.5. So in order to match the spectrum, some filters are also used in the solar simulators. That is, to get 1.5 AM spectrum, we are using some filters in the solar simulator. In the solar simulator, we use an artificial light source whose illumination spectrum matches with that of the sun. You can see a lamp over here. This is an artificial light source whose illumination spectrum matches with that of the sun. Preferably arc lamps, for instance, xenon arc lamp or mercury arc lamps are used as a light source as their spectrum nearly matches with that of the AM 1.5 spectrum of the sun. The light, when incident on the solar cell, generate current and voltage, and they both are measured with the help of a data acquisition system DAS. An internal sweep circuit applies either current or voltage, and measurement of the circuit measures the other quantity, either voltage or current. If I applied current through a sweep circuit, now I will measure the voltage. If I had applied the voltage in the sweep circuit, now I will measure the current. By getting these two current and voltage readings, we can plot the IV curve of a solar cell. The system itself will plot the IV curve of a solar cell. So the information gathered from the IV curve gives the short circuit current, open circuit voltage, fill factor, maximum power, current at maximum power point, voltage at maximum power point, series resistance, shunt resistance and efficiency of a solar cells. So all these parameters are useful in determining the solar cell performance. A proper temperature control system needs to be set up which can maintain the solar cell temperature at about 25 degrees centigrade. Therefore, the rear side of the solar cell placed on a metal chunk which is cooled down by the flowing water by means of a water recirculation pump. So the chunk which is used to place the solar cell will act as a back contact of a solar cell. Now let's discuss an important concept called quantum efficiency, which is a last topic of this unit. That is, the quantum efficiency is the ratio of the number of carriers collected by the solar cell to the number of photons of a given energy incident on a solar cell. In short, the quantum efficiency is defined as the probability of an incident photon resulting in the generation and collection of electrons in a solar cell. In other words, it means how many electrons are generated and collected, that is contributed to the flow of the current from an incident photon. Since for each photon, at best, one electron can be generated and which can contribute to the current flow. If not recombined, if this electron hole pair, if it is not recombined, it will contribute to the current flow. That is, for every one photon, we will get one electron. So the maximum value of quantum efficiency if there is no recombination, of this light generated electron from the photon is 100%. If I get one electron from one photon, then I will get the quantum efficiency as 100%. That is the number of charge carriers, that is the number of electrons collected from the solar cell divided by the number of photons incidented on the solar cell is nothing but the quantum efficiency. Let's take an example. If 10 photons are incidenting on a solar cell, if there are no recombinations taking place in a solar cell, then what happens? From these 10 photons, 10 electrons will be generated, and thereby the quantum efficiency will be 10 electrons by 10 photons, which is equivalent to 1 or 100%. On the other hand, if there is a recombinations happening on a solar cell and two of the light generated electrons got recombined again, then what happens? The number of photons are 10 in the denominator, but in the numerator the number of electrons are only 8, because two of the electrons are recombined, and thereby the quantum efficiency is 80%. It is what is called a concept of quantum efficiency. So the quantum efficiency is measured in a short circuit mode of a solar cell, and the short circuit current is measured for incident photon of one wavelength at a time. Two types of quantum efficiencies are used. The first one is the external quantum efficiency EQE, and the second one is the internal quantum efficiency IQE. The major difference between the EQE and the IQE is that EQE does not account for refracted or transmitted photons. We know that whenever photons incident on a solar cell, some of them will be reflected and some of them will be transmitted, right? This EQE does not account for reflected and transmitted photons. That is, say for example, some 10 photons are striking the solar cell, of which one photon got reflected and one photon got transmitted from the rear side of the solar cell. And then what are the net amount of photons we have? 8. Right. And say for example, these 8 photons contribute to 8 electrons. Let's imagine there is no, or let's assume that there is no recombinations. Then these 8 photons will contribute to 8 electrons. And what is the quantum efficiency now? 8 by 8 into 100, that is 100%, which is called the internal quantum efficiency, not the external quantum efficiency. The external quantum efficiency will be 8 by 10, that is 80%, whereas the internal quantum efficiency will be 8 by 8, that is 100%. You understand now the main difference? This external quantum efficiency does not take into account the refracted and transmitted photons. It will take the total photons falling on a solar cell, that is 10. And out of this 10, only 8 electrons are liberated, and thereby 8 by 10 will be 80%. But internal quantum efficiency will account for both refracted and transmitted photons, and thereby it will take a value of 8 in the denominator, because one of the photon got reflected and one more photon got transmitted from the rear end of the solar cell. So the net amount of photons available for the solar cell is only 8 thereby, and from this 8 we got 8 electrons. So 8 by 8 will be 100%. But only photons that are absorbed, neither refracted nor transmitted, contribute to the solar cell current. Due to this, IQE is the most commonly used to study the cell performance. So what is EQE? Number of electrons collected divided by the number of photons incidented on a solar cell. Right. What is IQE? Number of electrons collected to the number of photons entering the solar cell. That is, the number of photons entering the solar cell is equivalent to the number of photons incidented on the solar cell minus number of photons got reflected minus number of photons got transmitted. Right. Therefore, IQE is equivalent to EQE by 1 minus refracted minus transmitted photons. So now you can see it here. So the quantum efficiency may be given either as a function of wavelength or energy. So now I am plotting the graph between the quantum efficiency, that is the external quantum efficiency, and wavelength. And wavelength will be equivalent to hc by Ez. We know that band gap is equal to hc by lambda. And lambda equal to hc by E. We can plot a graph between external quantum efficiency and lambda, or we can plot a graph between external quantum efficiency and band gap. So the quantum efficiency for photons with energy below the band gap is 0, right? Because those photons will never be used to excite an electron from valency band to conduction band, even though they are striking their waist, and thereby the quantum efficiency for the photons with energy below the band gap is 0. That is, if the band gap of a material is 1.12 electron volt, if the photons which are having the energy less than 1.12 electron volt will have a quantum efficiency 0. The quantum efficiency is ideally has a square shape. You can see in the figure that yellow color one is a ideal quantum efficiency, assuming there is no reflections, there is no transmissions, and there is no recombinations. But the quantum efficiency for most of the solar cell is reduced due to recombination effects. Right? We can see that green color curve as a practical quantum efficiency curve because of recombinations, reflections, and transmissions in a solar cell. You can see it there. No light is absorbed below the band gap. So the quantum efficiency is 0 at long wavelengths. That is, whenever that at the long wavelengths, so no light is absorbed below the band gap of that material. So you can see it there at that particular lambda, there starts the band gap. We know that the band gap is inversely proportional to the wavelength. The band gap is inversely proportional to the wavelength. So whenever the band gap is less, the wavelength is maximum. Whenever the band gap is more, then the wavelength is minimum. So higher band gap will have shorter wavelengths, and lower band gaps may have longer wavelengths. Now you can see that pointed out. You can see that x-axis point, that is the curve touching the wavelength. So that is the point corresponding to the band gap. That is below the band gap. No electron will be moved from valency band to the conduction band, and thereby the quantum efficiency below the band gap or at longer wavelengths is 0. So the red response is reduced due to rare surface recombinations. You can see it there. I have given the response over there. The red response is reduced due to the rare surface recombination, as well as the green part. You can see the reduction of the overall quantum efficiency is caused by reflection and a low diffusion length. And you can see that the last part, it is the blue part. The blue response is reduced due to front surface recombination. So on a whole, the ideal curve should be a box, a square or a rectangle. But practically, you are getting a curve with reduced quantum efficiency. And why it is happening? At the red side, that is the red response, which is a longer wavelength, is reduced due to rare surface recombinations. And in the middle, we have a green wavelength. So this green wavelength, the overall quantum efficiency of this green wavelength is reduced due to reflections and low diffusion length. And the blue response, that is the shorter wavelengths, the blue response is reduced due to front surface recombinations. So at the shorter wavelengths, the quantum efficiency is reduced because of front surface recombinations. In the middle wavelengths, that is at the green wavelengths, the quantum efficiency is reduced because of the reflections and low diffusion length of the material which is used in the solar cells. And at the longer wavelengths, the quantum efficiency got reduced due to rare surface recombinations. Let me conclude this lecture. So in this lecture, we have gone through the unit 1, that is design aspects of solar cells. In this, we have gone through what is the working of a solar cell. Then we have seen what is the equivalent circuit model of a solar cell. Then we have seen different solar cell parameters, that is what is the open circuit voltage, what is the short circuit current, what is the fill factor, what is an efficiency of a solar cell. Then we have gone through what are the different losses in a solar cell. There are two different types of losses that are occurring in a solar cell. The first one is a fundamental losses and second one are the technological losses. The fundamental losses cannot be minimized because these are the losses that are corresponding to the material. And the second type of losses are the technological losses which are encountered in the solar cells due to processing defects. Therefore, by improving the manufacturing or fabrication techniques, we can reduce this technological losses. Then we have gone through the what are the upper limits of solar cell parameters. So the upper limit for a short circuit current for a solar cell made of silicon is 46 milliampere per centimeter square, and the maximum value or the upper limit of open circuit voltage for a silicon made solar cell is 0.85 volts, and the upper limit of a fill factor is 0.8 or close to it, and the upper limit for the efficiency is 31% for a gallium arsenide solar cell at a band gap of 1.45 electron volts, or 28% for a silicon made solar cell at a band gap of 1.12 electron volts. Then we have gone through different design techniques, that is design for high short circuit current. The design for high short circuit current can be obtained by reducing the reflections. So the primary objective of the design of a solar cell is reduction of reflection, and the secondary objective is reduction of recombination. This reduction of reflection can contribute to high short circuit current, and this reduction of recombination will result in high open circuit voltage in a solar cell. So the techniques that are used to reduce the reflection and thereby to improve the short circuit current in a solar cell are anti-reflective coating, surface texturing and light trapping. And the design for high VOC, that is to reduce the recombinations, we have used two techniques. The first one is a surface passivation and second one is a back surface field, right? And then we have gone through design for high fill factor. In order to improve the fill factor of a solar cell, the shunt resistance should be as high as possible. Ideally, it should be infinite. And the series resistance should be as low as possible. Ideally, it should be 0. But 0 and infinity is not possible in a practical situation. So, the shunt resistance should be as high as possible and series resistance should be as low as possible. So, by optimizing these parasitic resistances, we can improve the fill factor of a solar cell. This shunt resistance is a process defect rather than a design parameter, and thereby it is not in our control. Whereas the series resistance is in our control. We can reduce the value of the series resistance by making use of proper techniques. And then we have gone through solar simulator, which is an instrument which is used for measuring the IV characteristics of a solar cell. And finally, we have gone through the quantum efficiency of a solar cell. So, what is the quantum efficiency of a solar cell? The quantum efficiency of a solar cell is nothing but the number of charge carriers or electrons that are created in a solar cell and which contribute to the current flow through the device for single photon incidenting on it. So with this, we have completed our unit 1. In the next video, Let's start the unit number 2, that is solar PV modules. Thank you.